Episode 27 was with Lyndon, the drummer of the band The Faim.
I love that name. This was so cool. It was our first interview at Soma and also our first interview in an RV.
And this time we did only audio, but there'll be like a little audiogram on our YouTube page.
And Facebook.
And Facebook at Bringin' Back Pod is our Instagram handle, Twitter handle. Bringin' Back Pod. Follow us. We're bringing it backwards with The Faim.
Cool.
Get to keep this handy dandy folder.
Oh, it is such a nice folder too. It's like, damn, like they spent some money on that folder. Not a manila. That's a fancy one.
It's not a manila.
Yeah,
I
we need some stickers for it though.
Yeah, pimp it out a little bit.
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure.
So where did you grow up? You grew up in Australia?
Yeah, I grew up in Australia. Yeah, and had like a pretty normal childhood. Got into music quite early. Like I was listening to like a lot of rock records that my dad had when I was young, and then started playing drums when I was about 12.
Wow.
And from there, played in like high school bands and stuff like that. And then when I left school, like, local bands around Perth.
Is that where you grew up, Perth?
Perth.
Okay.
That's where I spent most of my time growing up.
Cool.
And just kicked around mainly in the local rock scene there. Mm-hmm. And then, I worked at a rehearsal studio, which is sort of how I got involved with these guys as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because their manager, his name's Rob, he owned the studios where I worked.
Oh.
And one day I got a call from him like out of the blue, and he's like, hey, we might need a drummer. And then, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, like learnt all the songs, and then nothing really came of it. And then a month later he called me again and said, we need you. And that's when they were on the middle of their first US tour.
Oh, wow.
End of last year.
So they fly you out to join the band?
They flew me out to fill in.
Yeah.
And then from there, like a couple of months later, I joined.
Okay.
So I officially joined in January this year.
Okay.
And
It's almost been a full year.
Yeah, I know.
It's almost a full year, which is crazy. It's gone by so quickly.
That's awesome.
We've done so much as well, which is crazy to reflect on, like where you were a year ago to like where you are now, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. You were prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who got you your first drum kit when you were 12?
My parents. It was a birthday present sort of thing.
That's cool because that's as a mom, I wouldn't want our kids to have that.
Loud.
It was definitely loud, but I was just very lucky to have supportive parents who were nurturing of the things I liked doing growing up. So they just put up with it. It was great.
What drew you to playing drums? Was there like a musician you saw, or like anyone that influenced you?
It was kind of by accident, really. Like I was in primary school. I think I was about 12 years old, like in year 7. Like it's the last year of primary school in Australia.
Okay.
And one of my mates, he wanted to do like music class, and like none of my other friend group wanted to go with him. And I thought, fuck it, I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll have a look, see what it's about. And his dad was a drummer, so his dad came into the class. It was it was a small school, and he taught like the drummers how to play drums. And like after learning like the basics of it, I sort of just fell in love with it. And he eventually dropped off, and I sort of kept going with it all through high school, and just didn't really stop.
Wow.
Yeah, got more and more into it the older I got, and like as your skill level progresses, you just want to keep getting better and better. And I think that's half the fun sometimes. Yeah.
You said you played in like local bands or just high school bands and stuff.
Yeah,
were you friends with the guys in the Faim, or like how did you get linked up with? You said the manager, but did you know the guys prior?
I knew them like briefly because like I was always down at the studios practicing, like because between university and like my free time, I was just there like pretty much any chance I got for like all day. And subsequently, because they were touring and stuff, they had to rehearse for tours. So I'd always bump into them like on lunch breaks and stuff like that. So I got to know them a little bit, and they overheard me like jamming. I overheard them jamming. And so like I wasn't really like good friends with them at that point, but like I was friendly towards them. Like they were acquaintances. Got along with all of them like well, but I didn't really know them that well.
Sure.
What were you going to university for?
I did a business degree, so I actually finished it. Luckily,
What?
so
That's awesome.
I've got a degree in marketing and management.
Oh, that's perfect.
So, yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
it works out great.
I'm sure that helps a bit with the band and stuff. Just
Like,
knowing that back end of it.
It's handy. Like the thing I like about university is that like obviously you learn a lot about the course that you're studying, but it teaches you a way to think as well. You got to think analytically and critically, and it definitely does help. I find it just in day-to-day life as well.
I completely
and how
agree.
you problem solve and figure things out.
I mean, it's interesting because a lot of people, you don't need to go to college, but then you can kind of learn like life skills there that you wouldn't. Yeah. It's not just about like doing papers and this; it's like discipline and
totally. And like university is a great time as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I had a lot of fun and learned some stuff as well. So win-win.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
When did you play your first show, like on drums?
I think I was like 18 or 19.
Okay.
Like one of my first bands. It was like looking back on it now, it was probably pretty rough. Yeah, but everyone starts somewhere.
Right, of course. Was it? Do you remember where it was at? Like, were you just playing locally?
Just locally in Perth, like in front of just friends and family.
Okay.
It was pretty sweet.
Was there a lot of clubs there and like to play? Like, when you're in like a band and stuff, is there like bars and stuff to play?
Like, depends what genre. Like, luckily most of my bands were rock and they sort of let you play anywhere. But like, if you're playing like metal, like they'll only let you in like 2 places in town.
Oh,
so you're
really?
pretty restricted. But
Okay.
like, the flip side with that is like the metal fans in Perth are very loyal. Like, you'll see the same people at like every show. You always have a crowd to play to. But yeah, rocks you can play anywhere. It's more acceptable, you know. But my first show was mainly to small audiences, like a lot of empty rooms and stuff like that.
Of course,
playing it, but that's half the fun, I reckon. You're still making noise, having fun.
When you joined this band, was this like the first like major like touring band you were ever in? So this was your first experience on tour was flying out to the States to jump on the tour with these guys?
Yeah, that's 100% it, man. Like it was crazy. Like I had barely any notice, and like the worst thing was like it took me about 48 hours to get to the guys because I had this nightmare flight. I had like a 12-hour layover in Brisbane to get to LA. Had another layover because one of the like plane tires popped on the previous flight.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and then I got to Washington DC at about 2 a.m, like absolutely wrecked, like barely slept. And then the guys picked me up. Like 10 a.m. and drive me to Baltimore. Okay. Which is where they were playing the show the next day. And like, the worst thing was because we were like so low on the bill. I think we were opening or second opener. Didn't even get a sound check. So the first time I played with them was on stage in front of 300 people.
Really?
Yeah. First time playing to like a click track and, using in-ears and stuff like that was, all on the fly.
All live.
Yeah, all live. It's just like get up there and go. And then there was like an intro thing I had to learn at the last minute and like a little, like a part of a song that they didn't tell me about. So yeah, it was pretty, sink or swim sort of moment.
Yeah. So when you flew in, you said you got in around 2 a.m. and stuff. When did you actually link up with the guys in the band? That same night?
So yeah, the next day in the van, they picked me up.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they just picked you up and you're like, hey guys, I'm going to be playing with you. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Whoa.
Yeah. So at that stage, it was just to see out the end of the tour. And then we all sort of got along and I'm still here now.
Yeah. Did they kind of take you under their wing and show you the ropes a little bit?
Like, they were great, honestly. Like, from the get-go, they showed me even just the basic shit. Like, this is how you load in. All right, this is what you've got to do at this time. And then after a few shows, you sort of get the hang of it and then it becomes routine. And then you just learn to, like, survive off the little sleep and the crazy rooting and like, having your knees like this in the van. All those little things, but it's all a part of it.
Yeah. And do you like, I would be like, worried, like, okay, like, is that my cubby? Like, is that my cabinet? Like, where can I put my stuff? Like, as the new person.
You gotta, those things would definitely.
Yeah. Like if you got a new job, like a new employee, you're like, okay, like where do you need me?
Lucky that they were all very friendly and, showed me the ropes. So it wasn't really an issue for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was that your first time in the States?
No, I'd been like previously. Yeah, a few times.
Oh, that's good. It wasn't like a culture shock.
No, I know what to expect. I'm a big fan of America, so I was happy to come back.
We can't wait to go to Australia. We still need to get our passports.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Get onto it, guys.
Had you ever seen the Faim play like in Perth before?
Yeah, I saw them probably halfway through last year, so about 4 months before I joined the band.
Okay.
Yeah, because like a number of them, the previous guitarist and the previous drummer worked at the studios where I worked.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I just went down to have a look and sort of support those guys doing their thing. Yeah, so I had seen them before.
Okay.
Which was kind of handy as well because I sort of got to see it like firsthand, a glimpse of what the show's sort of like, what the crowd's like, what they all do. But it's interesting just to see how much has changed from that moment to like where the Faim is sort of now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. Like alt press said, like you're gonna dominate the world.
Oh well, slow your roll there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, though. That's such a huge publication.
And your
talking about
songs
you
are
guys.
awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Did you get to record any of the State of Mind that just came out?
Yeah, so I did like all the drums apart from Summer is a Curse.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
'Cause that was before my time.
Okay.
But I tracked. Wait, let me just double check before I say the wrong thing.
A good majority, at least.
Where the River Runs doesn't have drums, but yeah, I tracked drums for all the other songs and wrote drums for probably most of them as well. Like some of them were pre-written and I came in later and put my thing on top, but other times they had just like a little bit of drums and then I put everything on top, and then some I wrote with the guys from scratch. So the weird thing about the album is like every song is different in terms of the process. Like everyone came about in a different way. So it's just interesting to see it all make it on the album because everything was so whack. Usually you're writing it in a room together and there's like a producer, but we went with different producers. We wrote on our own. Like there was some songs from before I was in the band, and then there was some songs like after like I joined. So it's a real mashup of like where the Faim was before and like where it is sort of now, and also like where it's heading as well.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
That is exciting. Did you get to work, like, were you in the band when the whole Pete Wentz thing kind of came together?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
That was Steve and Josh were obviously there.
Yeah.
So like the guys have talked about it like previously, and they've just said they learn a lot from the guy.
And did he just like find them, or like did you like discover them or something? Like, did you even know how they got linked up with them?
I think it was through John Feldmann because the whole thing started with John Feldmann. Like John Feldmann.
Okay, so he was first. So
Yeah.
Were you involved with that too, or
no?
Okay.
That was before my time.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure the band reached out to John Feldmann through like I think he was doing like a thing on Instagram, like looking for young bands to work with.
Oh, I actually remember him doing that.
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
And then
I sent it to your brother.
Oh, my brother has a band.
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, like
fun.
John Feldmann is like looking for bands, and he at the time he was producing Blink's California.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember he put that on Instagram. Okay, so that's how they reached out to him that way.
Through Instagram.
Yep. So I think it was through Instagram, and they sent him an email or something, and then didn't hear for months, and then finally heard back, and he was keen to work with the guys, and then I think everything like started there. Once John Feldmann like agreed to work with the guys, that's when they met Pete Wentz and worked with Josh Dunn and all the other big names.
Sure.
That,
okay.
on like co-writes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
that makes sense then. Because he's like, I mean, he's producing for everybody right now. It's crazy. I mean, the success of Goldfinger, of course, but then he's even bigger now that he's done all these
he's
records.
working with some pretty huge names. Like 5 Seconds of Summer, Blink.
Yeah.
The Used back in the day.
Yeah, he discovered the Used.
He's got a pretty insane track record. So.
Yeah, I know. That's really cool.
Yeah. So what do your parents think that you're like traveling the world now?
Like, it's cool. Like, they... Like the best thing I like, they just sort of, treat me the same. They're like, "Oh, cool. Where are you today?" Like, it's good. They keep me grounded. But they obviously, Mum's very proud and Dad's very proud as well. So, yeah, it's crazy. Like, none of us really saw it coming. It was pretty out of the blue, But they're all pretty stoked with how it's going for me, and get to see the world and play music, do what I love. So.
So cool.
Yeah.
So how many tours have you done with the band now?
Everything since like January. So I think this is my 3rd US tour. We've done 3 UK and Europe tours, and then I think 2 Aussie tours as well.
Wow.
So quite a lot of touring.
You guys have been on
no rest.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you guys haven't stopped.
Literally no rest. Like it's been all of this year we've been touring, and if it wasn't touring, we were writing for the album. And then, like, the worst thing for me was when we had a break after our first, after this the first US tour this year. So April and May supporting Andy Black. A lot of the drum parts were done back in Perth because we didn't have time to do it in LA. So what would happen is we'd have the skeleton of the song that was written in LA, and then I'd go back in Perth in the rehearsal studio, like work on my parts that I wanted to record and track, and then actually do that in Perth. So while the other guys were like resting up, I was still doing my drum parts.
Oh
for the
my
album.
gosh.
So, yeah, I literally haven't stopped since I joined the band. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Good arm workout.
Yeah.
It is. My hands are all calloused up, so yeah, it's all good.
When you worked at the studio, were you just, what were you doing for the studio? Were you helping record people, or just, was it like a rehearsal place?
Yeah, it was a rehearsal place. So, mainly like opening up for bands, collecting their money, making sure they've got all the right gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty sweet job, not going to lie.
Yeah.
Hang out with musos. Everyone's pretty chill, very nice. Yeah, in Perth, the music community is very tight-knit, so everyone knows everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a really fun job.
Yeah. You got to meet these guys and their management, and it all kind of came together for you that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm just always curious, like, did you grow up with siblings? And
Yeah, I got a younger brother.
oh,
Yep.
is he still back there? What's he up to?
Yeah, he's still at home. He's finishing off his degree.
Oh,
Yeah, he's doing quite well for himself.
did he ever play the drums with you?
No, he plays guitar.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Did you jam together, or
Like
did you
we
used to jam
never
together?
really lined up. So he played sort of later, in his later years, and I was already like out of home at that point. So yeah, never really lined up as much, but yeah.
When you were growing up, sorry,
Yeah.
your dad, you said you listened to his rock albums.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
What was he into?
Oh, he was a big Bruce Springsteen fan.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's got passed on to all our family, which is great. Like, I love Bruce Springsteen because of that. What else? He liked, the Offspring, the Lemonheads.
Yeah.
Oh, rad.
Yeah, just like a bunch of those 80s and 90s rock bands and rock artists.
Wow, so your dad must be much younger than ours.
Yeah.
He's relatively young. Still going strong.
Yeah, has
Yeah,
good
usually
taste
it's
in music.
Beatles and Zeppelin. That's awesome.
Yeah, he was more on the grunge side of things, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. When they asked you to come, meet up with these guys, like in America for the first time, like, was that pretty scary, or like what were you feeling?
It's pretty exciting, like more than anything. Yeah, all I can remember was getting that phone call and from Rob, the manager, and just being pretty stoked.
Yeah.
Even at the initial one where it wasn't even locked in or anything. It was such a cool opportunity, and I'm very happy that it worked out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing this, what were you? I know you said
What
you had
would I
a
be
business degree.
I'd probably be doing that.
Because I feel like this kind of like, you're doing your thing, and then they're like, hey, do you want to join us? And then you're like, oh, sure. And then they're like,
drop
you're
everything
going.
and
Yeah.
then gone. Yeah, like probably be using my degree in some capacity.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Yeah, probably just doing like a 9 to 5 sort of thing back in Perth. Like probably not this at all.
Crazy
Yeah.
how one phone call just made so much of a difference.
Yeah, 9 to 5s are awful.
Yeah, it's steady, it's reliable.
True.
You can count on it. But
Yeah.
And in this past year, like, have you met any like rock star that you were like blown away? Like, was there a person growing up that you really wanted to meet and you got to meet him?
not quite. Like the highlight for me has just been meeting like other touring artists that we've been touring with. Like bands like Stand Atlantic, Waster. Like this is our second tour with Waster. Just other guys and like girls that are doing this.
Yeah.
And yeah, just becoming mates with them, getting to know them, seeing how they do things, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, no big names, unfortunately.
Well,
Do you
I
have
know.
a wish list?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
boss.
Probably Dave Grohl would be the top.
Oh, yeah.
But
Her brother just ran into him.
At
Really?
a bar up in LA.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they went to see Iron Maiden played up in L.A. This is like a couple weeks ago. And then after the show, they all went to this bar, and there was like a private event going on.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you can't come in. There's a private event. So they were standing outside the bar trying to figure out what to do. And then they see Dave Grohl walk out of the bar.
They were all wearing their Iron Maiden
Yeah, and they're all
gear.
wearing their Iron Maiden gear that they just bought. And I guess he saw them, and he went. He's like, he walks up to him, and he's like, so guys, I have to ask, like, how was the show? And like, so
Crazy.
he like initiated the conversation with them, and I'm
What a
like,
man.
I've only heard like amazing things about Dave Grohl.
Likewise, man. And like, he's, one of my favorite drummers. So to meet him would be incredible.
Yeah. Were you a huge Nirvana fan, or?
Yeah, definitely. Still my favorite band.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, favorite band like growing up, and have remained that way ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah. They're just
Very
too
cool.
good, man.
They are. They really are. They're just
They're
what
legends.
like what they were doing was just so different than anything at the time.
Yeah.
Well, we have our final question we asked artists
Sure.
is, do you have any advice for aspiring artists, like people that want to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing is be prepared to work hard, and like harder than you think hard work is, because touring around, you're sleep deprived, and you can, you're on tour with some of the great bands, like great peers and stuff. So yeah, it's not easy. You've got to learn to be, cope under high pressure situations. But yeah, I guess working hard and, staying true to what you love as well is the two biggest things I could pass on to someone starting out. Yeah. No worries.